Now that is the sound of the prairie wind. We're welcoming a national best-selling author in Canada, and he is here to introduce us to his second book, Dinner with Lisa. Rod Prendergast, good morning. Haunting images and sound, a sound we all know here in Alberta.
That's for sure.
Welcome to CTV Morning Live, and can you start by telling us a little bit about your second book?
Absolutely. The story is set in Alberta during the Great Depression. The main character, Joseph Gaston, is a widower with 4 children. He leaves his home in Ontario because of lack of opportunities and comes out west to the small town of Filibuster, Alberta, to a job that's been promised him here. However, once he arrives in Filibuster, he finds the job has been given away to someone else. He has no money left to return him and his family back home to Ontario, so they're forced to stay in Filibuster. While Joseph is there, he's reunited with his brother, the Great Henry, who's the town prankster. And thanks to the Great Henry, Joseph has some minor scrapes with the law. So not only does Joseph have to find work, keep his family from starving, but he's also got to avoid the chief of police, who's on his tail as well.
Of course he does. Now, reviews suggest that this book is not only hard to read, it's, you know, sad and devastating, but very funny in spots, and that you fall in love with the characters as they make their journey.
Absolutely. The Depression was a sad time, but some people, you know, dealt with the situation with humor. I mean, what else can you do but laugh? So it's the tragedy comedy type of novel.
Now, do you think that this book can somehow relate to the recession that we've just been through? I mean, it's a very familiar story. They traveled over to Alberta to work and to start a new life. And
yeah, I think it's very topical because of the situation we were in or have been in the last couple of years, especially in the States and Europe, and perhaps it even happens here in Canada at some point. But it's the fact that anything can happen, and then when the worst does happen, how do you deal with it?
How do you deal with it? Well, we'll learn how he deals with it in this book. Now, your passion for business seems to have started young, as did your love of writing, but you didn't write your first book until a few years ago. So what does this first book mean to you and the reaction that you got from it?
I had no intention of writing a novel. That wasn't a childhood dream. My background's in business. But my wife and I moved to New Zealand, and while we were there, I had some time just to contemplate. And while I was waiting for my wife to finish her schoolwork, I would wait for her in the library. And as any book lover, I'd sit there and read books. And then one day, I just pushed the books aside and started writing, and moved back to Canada and continued to write. And my editor at one point finally said, "Perfect, we've got it. We're all done." And so that was the end of the first novel. It was inspired by a situation rather than some sort of event that happened.
Well, I think that everyone will be happy that you're continuing your writing, and you will be at your last book signing this afternoon at the Chapters on
Calgary Trail.
On Calgary Trail.
Between noon and about 4 o'clock.
All right. Well, I hope lots of people are out there for you. A great Christmas present, and you have a chance to win this book, this latest book, Dinner with Lisa. You can do that by emailing us at edmmorning@ctv.ca. or calling the contest line that is now on your screen. Thank you very much for joining us. It was a pleasure meeting you, and come back again.
Thank you very much for having me.